Gentlemen, here it is. The most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any materials produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present Girls vs. Ghosts, The Mind's Eye with Stephanie Hutnick. Live only on Spreaker. Join us in our live interactive chat by going to Spreaker.com or download the free Spreaker app for all devices. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Stephanie Hutnick.
Welcome to the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Mind's Eye. Tonight I'm very excited because I have a fellow psychic medium with me, or medium, the Maven medium, Miss Kelly Miller. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on and tuning in.
Oh, thank you so much. I am very honored. We were just talking right before the show. I just got the chance to meet you at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, and I was so excited because I don't think we were friends on social media until then, but I knew of you, and then I knew Eric was friends with you in the field.
Yes. I had met him before, and we had become friends, and I was so looking forward to seeing you, and you just have such beautiful energy, and so I knew when I was meeting you in person, I was super excited about it, and I'm glad we connected there and have been friends since. I'm all honored as well to be on here because, you know, it's so wonderful to chat with someone else who has a like mind and similar experiences.
Exactly, but I will tell you now, and we can talk about this, but you're way more experienced than me. I like to think of myself as like a baby psychic medium.
Oh.
I've always known that I've had like these gifts and this sixth sense that was just, you know, not your normal intuition, so to speak, and but I didn't really start accepting it just because of like a certain situation until I was in my late 20s. So I'm just in my early 30s now, so I'm still like a work in progress.
Oh, well, and it takes a while, I say too, I was born this way. I don't recall being any other way, but I've been public about 10 years. So you know how, you know, at the beginning, just like any other, adversity, so to speak, if you can word it that way, that people kind of have to conquer. It's not always something you want to be public with right away. And I grew up in kind of a conservative area, which has progressed a bit. But at any rate, it wasn't something that I shared initially right away. So it's been about 10 years that I've been public, and I do say it's the best decision I ever made. I've met such amazing people.
Right? That's one of like the best parts of doing it openly and traveling and attending these different Paracons and even just social media. Like, I've connected with so many people. I always say, like, I have best friends that don't even know I'm their best friend.
Exactly. And what's funny is too, I did some after I kind of put it out there on social media. It was funny how many people who I had grown up with or went to school with or that were in my area. And I've done readings my whole life, but it's just been private. But when I've come out about it, so many people have sent me messages and like, oh, I saw your post, but like I've always had this experience and I knew like I was empathic too. So it was like automatically more often than not now, you become more relatable,
Absolutely.
instead of being, someone that, is maybe standing out a bit different. More and more people are having these sort of, experiences and or even want to pursue different sorts of like metaphysical, holistic healing. And because I do other things as well. And it's, people are really craving that now. And it's also that their minds have become more open to it. And more people have those experiences they can't explain. So it was funny because as soon as I kind of posted about it, I had all these messages like, oh, that's so cool. Like I knew I could do this and this and this as well. And it just makes you more relatable, being able to talk about that openly and share those things.
See, like I always shared it with my family members, but like even my best friend since 5th grade, Leanne, didn't really know to like the extent of it. But like now too, through social media and my posting and sharing my adventures, like I just had a girl from high school, like buy a gift certificate for her mom for a reading from me. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like everyone's supportive and like, you're right. People are becoming more open to the experience or idea that what we actually do is, real, so to speak.
Right. Exactly. And, it's funny that you said like even your long-term friends didn't know. And that was kind of the same, minus the few token people who I read for. That was kind of the same in my position. And at one point I was married and I kind of came out at the same time. I just wanted to be myself all the time and not just read. I teach kindergarten during the day. So, so I didn't just want to, read at nights and in the summertime anymore. I wanted to be able to help people all the time and be myself all the time. And I kind of came out to both my ex-husband as well as my lifelong friends at that time, and he said, well, I just can't believe that you didn't tell me sooner. And I said, well, my own lifelong friends didn't know any sooner. It's just, that's like the right time. You hit that point where you're just like, you know what, I am who I am and that's okay. And then, that's in any area of life, but it's amazing then, like you said as well, people were very supportive and, and I also, I feel like I'm kind of similar to your energy in that I don't push people into it. I always say if someone has to like twist your arm about a reading, that it's not the right time. So, you always have to kind of bring yourself to that point. And if people don't believe, that's fine too. I have many friends that don't, and we get along just fine. I don't force it on anybody either, which I think is, a more open-minded way to be.
Right. Well, I mean, there are a lot of people who do, and, to each their own. Literally just, I feel like, and tell me how you feel about this, like in our field, and Shay can relate to, I just literally stay out of the petty stuff and the drama. I don't care if you don't like me. I just try to be so positive, and I accept what everybody does because I just know they're doing it their way. That's the way they're going to do it. All right. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to think anything. Just go for it, man,
Right. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And, I always say, one of those big terms is like para-unity, where everybody has to get along. And that's great in theory, but in it, like minus a utopian society, that's not going to happen. So, I'm the same as where everybody can kind of do what it is that they feel that they have to do, or what they feel as far as their timeline and their soul's progression and things like that. I also believe in trying to be as positive and upfront and, honest and kind of, my whole true self, no matter what aspect of life, whether I'm teaching or whether I'm, running my business or whether I'm traveling, that, I'm consistent in every aspect, because I think just from my experiences, I'm sure yours, like attracts like. So I'm going to attract more, friends and connections and clients and meet new people that are more like your energy wavelength if you put that out to the world.
Exactly. And just to touch on what you just said, like the whole para-unity thing, yeah, in theory it is great, but in general, in life and at work or with friends or family even, who always gets along with everybody? That's just not human nature. You're not going to love everybody all the time, and your beliefs will always be different than everybody else, but you can still make the best of that. You still don't have to go out of your way to announce it or other things like that. And I see so much of that on social media. I'm like, y'all calm down.
Right. Right. Yeah. And even with people who read, I know other psychic mediums or other mediums or other psychics, because some people are not both. So, but I know other people, and they even read differently than I do. So I even encourage, my client friends to, go to find the style and the person that works best for you, because it's just like I do Reiki healing as well, or like if people would get like a massage, you want to find the person that has that energy that fits best with yours, because you're really letting someone into your energy who has no right to know what they know. So you want to be comfortable with their intention, and you want to be comfortable with their style and their personality and that sort of thing. So you kind of find the person or style that works for you. So I encourage people to, try different styles, try tea leaf readings or tarot card readings or conversational readings, like it's the style that I do, that allows you to figure out what you're most comfortable with.
Right. So I have to ask, Shay wants to know for clarity, what is Reiki for like people who aren't familiar with it, haven't had like a Reiki healing session?
Sure. Reiki is an old Asian, it stemmed from the Asian continent, healing art, and it has to do with laying your hands on or above the body in various positions to promote self-healing within the body. So it's a non-invasive therapy. It's something that's done only out of the goodness of universal energy. It will not harm or hurt. And it allows the body to kind of open those areas that may be blocked and promote self-healing. A lot of people use it as a maintenance if they have longer term conditions or illnesses, or sometimes it's just like an energy tune-up where you're just feeling kind of like drained and down, and kind of boosts you up a little bit. It allows you to sleep really well. And it's performed by just laying on a massage table. You keep your clothes on for this, unlike some of us, who enjoy regular massage as well. But you keep your clothes on and you just kind of lay there and relax. You're fully awake unless you go to sleep, which some of my clients go to sleep because it's very relaxing.
It is.
But it's just so peaceful. And actually grew up with my mom doing that to us as kids. But you have to be certified to take clients. So, yeah, it was very helpful growing up with a mom who was able to do that too.
Absolutely. I've had Reiki done. Well, I've had distant Reiki healing.
Yeah.
But I've only had like the experience twice where, I was there physically. And one was done. I don't know who did it because I don't remember. But it was at a Paracon in Pennsylvania. But then at another event, Holly Mullins from the Southern Gypsies did it, and I'm telling you, I went somewhere. I literally was in another dimension. That is how relaxing it can be. Yes.
Yes, so, I also had it done where another woman who I know up home, she's a massage therapist, and she integrates Reiki as well, but it's amazing because you do just kind of zone out completely. And I also was the same way. I do believe I traveled that day. So it was very relaxing.
Yeah. So Kelly, I want to ask you, like, I know as psychics or mediums, we all work differently. Like for me, like psychometry is like my thing, like touch is where I get a lot of my information. Or I know, I see a lot with my third eye. I don't necessarily like physically see it with my eyeballs. So
sure.
How does it work for you? Like, how do you see things? How do you get your information?
I grew up seeing and hearing and receiving message intuitively, which is that third eye communication. I do some psychometry as well. I don't have to be with someone to read them. So I do distance readings. I've always been thankful to be able to do that. So I don't have to be right with somebody. I do assist like paranormal teams and read environments too. So walking through an environment, helping with private cases, things like that. So a lot of it for me is mainly seeing and hearing and receiving message intuitively. I don't use tarot cards or tea leaves or anything like that.
Mine started, and I'm curious to see if you have these experiences too. Mine started like my most the biggest event that kind of put me on this path was like a prophetic dream or a premonition.
Okay.
So have you experienced like getting information like that? Or like, I guess it's before I go to a location. I don't like to know anything about it other than, you know, maybe the general name of it.
Exactly.
But I will have dreams for days before I go to the location of, you know, spirit coming to me, trying to tell me something, deliver a message, or just like, hey, I know you're coming. I'm going to see you soon.
Right.
So it's really funny when that happens. I'm like, whoa.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's how I'm happy to hear that that's how you receive your information too. That's oftentimes how I do. And you know, we were kind of talking off the air a little bit about doing readings and how we are both very big on like privacy of clients and things. And I do kind of a similar method. I do a prayer meditation before I meet with clients, whether that's online or over the phone or in person, or if I go to a location to assist. I always do a prayer meditation to open and to close for message, because I feel that it's very important to also be able to be a normal person in addition to doing things like this. And I know that you know that it is so enjoyable and so moving to be involved in those dimensions, so to speak. But at the same respect, I mean, you have to be able to do your laundry and go to your other jobs. So you kind of have to reel it in, you know, and be a real person. But I do a prayer meditation as well, so I can kind of open up for the type of place that I'm going to, or if I'm meeting with a client, it kind of gives me an idea of their own energy or the spirit energy coming with them. And it gives me a jumping off point for the reading or the client that I'm going to meet with, so that, you know, once we're there, more information can come through, or when we're meeting, more information can come through. But at the same time, I kind of have that background of, you know, what I'm going into or what I'm going to encounter, or maybe a spirit, whether it be a loved one or one of the place that just really wants to try to get their message through right away. So I'm the same as you. I do get those premonitions. I do get some through dreams as well. My maternal grandmother got a lot of information in intuitive dreaming. So I do get some of that as well, but that prayer meditation for me is huge, just for giving me some insight into what I'm getting myself into.
Absolutely. Now, that prayer meditation, does that also protect you during readings, or if you're walking through a location?
It does. Yeah, I have various methods of protection. As far as, you know, I carry some crystals with me all the time. I do some visualizations. I have some prayers. I do include some meditations. And whatever anyone picks, whether they're a paranormal investigator or someone who's just trying to reclaim the energy of their home, I always say it's really the intention that you put behind it, that whatever method works for you, that's what is meant to work, but it's the intention that drives that. So I have a couple different things that I do, but I do include some of those in that prayer meditation as well. And it's also an ongoing thing, as you know, because, you know, when you go into a place or you're working, you know, you have a reading or something, you may need to keep those visualizations or those prayers going throughout the whole time you're there, or, you know, take breaks to refresh about that, just based on what you're experiencing.
So how often, or if you do at all, how often do you like go to active, like haunted locations and do like walkthroughs or read for a paranormal team or even residential cases? Sure.
I actually have been doing more and more of them. In beginning with reading, you know, and I explain it this way to those listening, as I'm sure you already know, but, you know, when you're experiencing different beings, they're on different vibrational levels. So our friends and family members, our loved ones are very high vibration. So they're more comfortable to us to have dreams about them or experience them or smell them or find a sign or symbol from them. And then the lower vibrational beings, you know, there's lots of beings in between. And the lower vibrational beings are oftentimes those beings that you encounter at a haunted place, or, you know, at that residual energy that just lives on at a place. So I kind of try to limit, you know, try to find that balance between those appointments for higher vibration and the appointments for lower vibrational levels. But the more that I've been doing this over the years, the more and more I'm being called to assist in residential cases and help with paranormal teams and, give trainings for dealing with those sorts of energies, just because people are encountering them more. But I think it's really because people are now more interested than they used to be. They want to figure out what's happening at a place or why something's going on. And so I just try to find that balance. But now quite often, I was just at a place earlier today. So I was helping a group earlier today and at a brand new place before we got to chat tonight. So it's happening more often, I think, but people are also more open to that now as well.
Yeah. And someone asked how long you've been doing it publicly, and you said that was 10 years?
Yeah, I've been public about 10 years, but I have read for private clients and dear friends of mine throughout the rest of my life. But it's been an awesome 10 years, that's for sure.
Right. That's awesome. I just lost my complete train of thought. Sorry, everybody.
Oh.
Eric's in the room. Sometimes you just make faces at me, and I'm like, what?
Oh, Eric.
Yeah, Eric says hi, everybody.
Aw, hi, Eric.
So I wanted to ask, is there a reason you don't use cards or anything like that, like a tool?
I know there are so many varieties, as you know, of decks of tarot cards or angel cards or whatever it really calls to you in that fashion. That's just kind of another tool with intention for me. If you are someone who actively reads, as I'm sure you do as well, you develop what you call your psychic dictionary. So when you sense something or you receive something in a dream or prayer meditation that's symbolic, you have a translation for it. For what you're going to encounter or, something when it pertains to a client. For me, that's just where those symbols come in instead of on cards. So it just comes faster to me. And as I'm sure you all can gather, like I try to slow down, but I'm a pretty fast talker. So in that respect, I just kind of think, well, I can keep up with my thoughts and my symbols that way as opposed to cards. But I think the cards are very valid, and a lot of people like that experience for being able to see their energy that's infused on the cards, because it's oftentimes, the client is the one that's flipping the card, and that really is what's calling to them at the time. So they get to see that symbolism instead.
Right. Like for me, cards, like I find them useful at times or certain situations, but
sure.
Honestly, I know how to read tarot, like the actual way to read tarot, and I've read all the books and I know all the spreads, but I like to read them my own way, which is probably not, well, I mean, it's the best because it's the best for me and it's going to be the best for who I'm reading for. But I just kind of like to do what comes to me at the time, I guess, or right. I actually prefer they're shuffling them, they're picking their cards, they're laying them out. Like, I just feel like I get more of thetheir energy from it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I kind of relate that as well to paranormal equipment. I gave a talk one time about the purpose of involving sensitives in investigations. And in a different, respect, it's kind of like using the cards for those people, your client's validation of what they're experiencing, that they can see for themselves. Mm-hmm. When you're using a sensitive in an investigation, it can validate the equipment. That person can validate the equipment, or the equipment can validate them. And
absolutely.
That's, the most important to me. It's not just having somebody walk through. It's then, okay, well then what follows up that, what comes out of what they picked up on, or the results or the findings that ties it all together. So it's very validating either for the client or for us as psychic mediums. It's really, really validating to have that symbolism and that experience.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. But honestly, I just feel like sometimes in some cases when working with the paranormal, and that's how I started. Like I came out right into this field, like joined a team right away as a sort of medium, and I had a lot of great experiences. But I will say the level of respect towards me versus like a male team member that's not a psychic medium,
right,
was totally different, and it left a bad taste in my mouth. And so I sometimes still have a hard time trusting people I'm working with in that aspect, because I'm like, do these people even believe like in what I'm doing right now? Like, are they going to believe what I say if I tell them there's like an elemental hanging out right there in the corner? Like, you know, or are they just looking at me like I'm crazy? I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And I always I always think to myself in the back of my mind, Spirit has never lied to me. So I've had experiences where, symbolism is different, or I'm walking through, and when I explain it, because I'm working through symbols, I explain it or I reword it, and then the client goes, oh yeah, okay. But I know sometimes for me, it's the people, clients that are the hardest to have them understand, because we do work through symbol, sometimes they really, and of course I don't press, my human clients, but I do relay what comes without filtering. So sometimes I've had several clients who really say, no, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. And later on, they do come back to me and say, I know I just didn't really want to admit this or tell you this, but and I totally get the whole aspect of privacy or not being ready to share something. And I will never push anyone, but I also relay spirit message. That's my job. So I will relay that. And, sometimes they're not ready for that, which is okay, but they're the hardest for me to say, Spirit hasn't lied to me. So maybe you're not quite ready to talk about this, and that's okay. Yeah. But just so you know, this is what I'm receiving about that. So, I think people sometimes are even harder in that respect.
Right. Don't you love too, like when you do a reading for someone, and I think like they probably believe, but they're still a little skeptical, and they're like, nothing you're saying makes sense at all. Like, that's not a thing, or no, that's not happening. And then like 2 weeks later or a month later, they're like, oh my God, everything you said just happened. And you're like, well, yeah, it's because I was telling you your future.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's just because I picked it up a little faster, and that's okay. Just as I'm sure you do.
I love it when it happens.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I say we're just receptacles. We just pass along the information. That's how I view myself, as I pass along the information from whatever source you believe in. I don't tie what I do to any sort of religion. So, I say, I'm just passing this along to you, and I'll help to explain the symbolism to you, and then give it a couple weeks, give it a couple months. Because if it's something, that I can give you a timeline on now, great. But if it's a little ways away, it's okay. Just know that this is your, updated information, or this is your new download, so to speak, about, what's coming. So you're a little bit more prepared and you feel better about it.
Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you if you, I can't read for myself, other than my intuition or, I can't read for myself. So I actually really enjoy getting readings from other psychic mediums. I love it.
Yes. I am also the same way. Most people who I know personally that read, can't really read for themselves. They can't read in the same style that they read for other people. For me, I will get warnings, just as I'm sure you do. We seem to be very similar in that way. We'll get a warning, nope, that's not a good choice to happen today, but I really can't read for myself in the same way that I read for other people. And I enjoy it too. It also allows you, if you're sensitive to energy at all, and whether it's being a psychic medium, or if it's being just someone who is empathic or feels others' energy, it allows you to pick that person who you're more, those people that you're more drawn to for those readings. So I really enjoy, kind of gravitating toward someone and asking them, some questions for me, because that is kind of hard, when you're constantly the one doing it, as grateful as we are to do it. But it's nice to have for us to have that validation too sometimes. So I totally agree with you.
Now, do you pick up on family or past loved ones or friends? Do they visit you?
Of my own or of my clients?
Your own.
Oh, my own, I do sometimes. I have particular symbols that I have attributed to different people. Just as an example, my maternal grandma, she would well up over everything, whether she was happy or sad or indifferent. And she was like close to my height, and I'm pretty, I'm short, and she's close to my height. And so when she comes near me, I've attributed this to her, that I'll just well up for no reason. I may not even be sad or happy, but I kind of have to step back and acknowledge her and kind of tell her I love her. And then I have to say, but I have to finish teaching math, So, I kind of validate her, and then, allow her to have created that connection. And I do also share that with my clients. If you're experiencing something that automatically makes you think of someone, then that is without a doubt, in my experience with spirit, that's who sent that to you. If you have an experience that you can't quite figure out, then give it a little bit of time and see how that works out and how it makes sense. But if you experience something or you find something, a sign or symbol, a penny on the ground with a particular date, and it automatically makes you think of someone, then, I believe that's who sent that to you, because I've had spirits say to me, well, I'm sending them this particular sign and they think of me, but they're trying to talk themselves out of it. So, we try to rationalize as humans. That's just what we do. So it is, to me, it's something that if you can create that connection, you definitely, I believe that's who sent that to you. So for me, it's particular family and friends, not all of them, but particular ones. I can feel them close. I don't see them like I see others, but I feel them differently.
Yeah, one of the listeners, Creeps in the Night, says it's always been harder for me to see through the blood relation veil. And I relate to that so much. The only experience I've ever had with a loved one in general wasn't even a family member. It was my best friend that died in a car accident when I was 17. And it's actually how I accepted and started doing this, because I dreamt of his death the night before he died, in detail, in creepy, horrifying detail. And shortly after, I had a dream. It was we met in my dream, and we were talking, and he knew he was dead, but he was just having conversation with me. But since then, it's never happened again. And I just think it's come back. Meet me again. Right.
And again, from my experience with spirit, I do say, all depending on what you're going through in life, you have different beings that come, closer to you at particular times. It can be times of day, or it can be times of life. And, I always think that not only are they direct connections, if it is that person that and you've had that experience, but it allows you a little more emotional balance to have those experiences and then wake up from them, because you already then kind of know. It's like a deja vu experience in a way. And those friends and family members are harder to sense or pick up on, because you're emotionally closer to them. It's very hard for me to read my mom, because we talk a lot and we're emotionally close. So it's also, as I'm sure you can relate, you don't want to put your, mental 2 cents into what you're picking up about a person, because you know them so well. So, it's just when they pass to the other side, sometimes they are the hardest to pick up on and, sense and dream about, but it doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means that you have other messages you have to hear at that time or experience at that time, or it means that you had a really rough day at work, so you're not going to remember dreaming at all, because you need to catch up before you go in tomorrow. So they kind of back up and let us get that sleep and rest that we need. But it doesn't mean that they disappear. And, they're the hardest people really to feel. And much too, as much as we're connected. I have fur babies. So, as much as we're connected, they're the hardest to feel too. But they're just as loyal to their people on the other side as they are on this side. So we'll see them again. But, they're hard to sense too.
Yeah. And in my experience with my friend visiting, I felt really guilty. If I didn't have this dream, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. And do you know how hard it was, afterwards, telling people I had that dream. I mean, I didn't go out of my way to tell them.
I know. Yes.
With someone, and I think that was like his way of saying, like, it's not your fault.
Right. Yeah. And there's really, that's something, you know, I've had some clients too on a different scale will tell me, you know, I always dream of these particular people. Like this has happened to others, the clients that I've met with. They'll say, I've dreamt of these people, and then the next day I've dreamt of them passing away, and then they pass away. Or I've dreamt of them, you know, doing something, and then they've gotten injured. And if only I could have done something. And, you know, I always say to them, first of all, it's for an emotional heads up. This is going to happen. You know, this person's going to be okay. You're going to be okay in dealing with this. But maybe you have a very stressful day at work tomorrow and you can't get that news in the middle of the day. So when you do, and it hits you a little bit differently because your brain has released those, you know, stress triggers a little bit differently. And it's not like a sudden shock because in the back of your mind, you already knew a little bit. So, you know, I think that has something to do with it. And, you know, I grew up with having those particular experiences and dreams. And really the best thing that you can do is send those people whatever vision or prayer or colors of love and light that you deem mean a lot to you, and allow their path to take the path that it takes. And that doesn't make it any easier for us to deal with at all. Right. But, you know, that's all you can do. I was just talking to the group today, and I said that I had dreams before. I would get dreams before, like the Oklahoma City bombing and plane crashes and things like that, big global things. And, you know, I would call my mom in the morning. I'd wake up and I'd call my mom and I'd say, oh my gosh, Mom, you know, I know, you know, who's on this plane and I know where the plane's, you know, leaving from and I know what's going to happen. And she, in her all-knowing wisdom and non-filter like me, answered me on the phone by saying, and what are you going to do, Kelly? Call every major airport and tell them to ground their planes? I don't have enough bail money for whatever agency is going to pick you up today. And I'm like,
understand that.
You know, I'm like, but I need to be able to do something.
I know the Vegas shooting, where they had that country concert outside in Vegas, where the gunman was in the hotel. I literally knew so many details. Right. And I'm like, what do I do? I can't call the Vegas police department, and they're going to think I'm a crazy person. The FBI is going to be in my house. Right. And exactly. It's hard. You know what I started doing? Just for, like, my own validation, like, well, I guess I don't do it anymore because I'm so busy, but I used to write everything down and put it, like, in an envelope. And then if I was, like, watching the news or, like, some more information came out, I would open it and be like, oh, my God, that's exactly what I said. Like, I date it and everything. Right. Exactly. Just so I knew I wasn't insane. Right. And then the notebook is the best place. Just, like, jot those details down and everything. And it's just like, you know, what she said to me, she's like, you have to send them whatever love and light is meaningful to you, and encourage those spirits to make the right decisions for themselves. You know, so, you know, that's all you can do. And for some people, that's just not enough. You know, some people need to feel like, oh, well, if I could have done something, because that's our nature. That's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to help. Especially people who see and sense energy, they want to be able to help. But that doesn't always happen. And it doesn't always happen in a timely fashion, you know, maybe after the event. But that's still the best thing that we can do. Shay's mom, Mama Deb, wants to know, what is the significance to dreams? So, like, if you're having a dream, okay, I'm just trying to figure out the best way to verbalize it. What is the significance of dreams having the right people in the right places versus the right people in the wrong places? And I think by wrong places, she means, like, not your typical, like, I guess I don't understand. Shay, can you clarify what the wrong places mean? Yeah, I think what she's saying is, like, if I dreamt of my friend visiting me, the right place would be somewhere that's familiar to us, and the wrong place would be somewhere I don't know. I think that's what she's saying. I think it's kind of, you know, in that respect, I think it's just for validation.
whether they would have been in whichever place, this is the result of how it turns out or what happens. You know, and, you know, on a simpler instance, you know, you can have a really bad feeling about the way someone's coming home from work one day, and you can call them and you can tell them, you know, you should take a detour because the way you normally come home is not going to be safe. And they are still going to make the choice they're going to make. So they're either going to still decide, you know, oh, I could take that direction, or I could take that detour. But that is, again, all that you could do. But it gives you that validation of like, okay, well, when they get home and they say it took me an extra 40 minutes because I didn't listen and took the detour, then there's that validation for you. So I think it's whether it's in...
Oh, sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
She said where they wouldn't be, or places they normally wouldn't be, or a time they shouldn't be. So, yeah, I guess it's just anything that may be unfamiliar.
Yeah, it could very well be the result of something. Sure. Like the result of them being somewhere else. How does that dream or vision end? Yeah, I think I understand what she's talking about. Yeah, that validation of that is really, really important if you need that particular closure on something. My grandma, who would have those intuitive dreams, would have herself pictured in cities that she hadn't ever been in. And in her dream, she would figure out how to get out of them. So that when she would travel to that place and she would get out, it was like she could be in that experience and not panic, because she kind of had that, you know, validation of like, okay, well, if I do this, I know I can, you know, turn here and turn here and turn here and get out. But it's that reassurance for those people too that are having those experiences.
It's been my experience that like I have meeting places almost. I feel like
okay, in
dream state, or it's not like astral projection or anything, but like I feel like there's like meeting places that are kind of like made up in our spiritual metaphysical world, that like you'll see loved ones or friends or
sure. Yeah, I very much agree with you.
Creating this picture, you know, like I think it depends on so many different, you know, there's so many different variables. I think that could play a part in where you are, what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I kind of relate that to like a therapist, like a safe space, you know, whatever or a calm space, you know, whatever you find is that's your, you know, area that you can be most centered and most relaxed. Those are the times that you're going to be open to receiving messages either in dreams or, you know, during the day, you know, when you're kind of on autopilot, that place that's most calm and relaxing to you. So being able to envision that in a dream or a meditation can encourage those messages too.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you have weird dreams a lot? Like the past couple of nights I've been having these just out of this world. They don't even make any sense. I feel like in my dream they make sense, but the second I wake, I'm like, what?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I do notice, you know, I follow astrology a bit. You know, I do feel that plays into people, you know, quite a bit. And I do follow, you know, planetary and lunar cycles. And I don't know if it's from 15 years of teaching 5-year-olds or if it's from, you know, doing this, but to me it has some relevance. And I do see, you know, how my sleep cycles and things like that change over that time. And, you know, really, I agree with you. The last, I don't know, maybe 6-7 days, I've had a lot of really weird dreams, or I just don't remember them at all. So they're either really detailed or, you know, I wake up and I'm like, maybe I dreamt. I mean, I'm sure I did, but I don't recall it.
I think last night it was like the new moon energy.
That's true. That was last night. Yes, you're right about that.
And it's in Libra, and I'm a Libra. And all this, I don't know. I'm just learning all that stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because certain qualities about people, you know, really resonate with their signs. And, you know, sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. You know, if people say, oh, well, you know, I'm not really like that. Like I am a true and true Virgo.
Don't want to face it.
Right. Right. That's what it is. I
am everything a Libra is. I promise you. I'm the biggest doormat, always.
Yep. No, I'm a true and true Virgo. I'm on the day it changes. So I could either be a Virgo or a Libra. And I'm like, there is no doubt in my mind, as much as I don't want to say that I am in certain respects. Nope, that is totally me. I'm going to own it. So I agree with you.
So, Kelly, before we go, I want to ask you a couple of questions. What's your favorite, or where have you had the best experience so far, like in a haunted location?
Ooh, in a haunted location, I think each of them were interesting in their own right. This last season, and last summer, I helped with a team, SOS Paranormal. They run a teen paranormal camp out of Pennsylvania. And so we traveled to a couple different locations with them. And of course, one of them was Penhurst Asylum outside of Reading, Pennsylvania. So that was really interesting. And I know they were doing some updates to hopefully have some more buildings open and available. Lots of different energy in that as well. But some of the other places truly that have great, amazing energy are just places that are constantly being used. So like, different restaurants or hotels or, lodges, those sorts of things really keep a lot of energy. So just for a varying array of experiences, those more common places, but they're consistently used, they definitely, to me, have a lot more energy.
Right. And then what's your favorite stone or crystal? I know everybody calls them something different.
I love the stone. It's a type of quartz from a particular mine in North Carolina. It's called a zezcherite, and it just looks like plain quartz, but it's an extremely high vibrational stone. It does not need cleansed. It's very useful for deep meditations, reading, channeling, and it's supposed to be kind of infused with some information of the future. So that's a stone I carry with me a lot. Yeah, I just it was shown to me several different times in several different fashions. I had to find the stone. It can make some people dizzy by holding it. It does kind of have a heartbeat of its own if you palm the stone, so it's really kind of neat. But I love that stone, and I love amethyst, of course, amazonite, all those, fluorite, all those different beautiful purpley and white stones are really protective colors too.
My favorite is citrine.
Ooh, yeah.
I just have this natural weird draw to it, and it's just, I have earrings, I have so many citrines, but I love labradorite. It's beautiful. Ooh, and then clear quartz is just my go-to,
Right. Yep. I keep a pocket of a little sachet of those in my pocket during any investigation, or in my purse, or in the car that I can just pull from when I need them, because I believe stones speak to you too. So it's whatever you need at that day or time.
Absolutely. So do you have anything coming up anywhere? Are you doing any conventions or events that people can come see you?
I'm actually going to be at the Fleetwood Paracon in Virginia in 2 weeks. The second weekend in October, it's a benefit at the Fleetwood Church, and they're having a big Paracon there. And then around the holiday time, I have a couple events pending, but more helping with private things and catching up on some appointments over the holiday time. But once spring hits, some events out of Maryland and New Jersey and here in Pennsylvania. And I think this next calendar year will be pretty busy, but I post everything on my Facebook page. So if anybody wants to see upcoming events, it's on those too.
Absolutely. I want you to tell them first how they could possibly book a private reading with you.
Sure. Well, I actually was going to offer your listeners kind of a very, a special that I just do. I just wanted to offer for them if they wanted to try a reading for the first time. And I can do a question at a kind of a special rate just for them. And I can do it via text or internet chat. So if they send me a message on my Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/The Maven Medium, or they can search for The Maven Medium on Facebook, and just send me a message that they listened to the show tonight, then I'll reply with details for them. But it's just a one-question reading that allows them kind of a taste of what it feels like to receive this type of reading, and if they're enjoying it or not. But all my information for appointments is on my website, which is just themavenmedium.com, or they can find it on Facebook as well.
Awesome. I need to get a reading with you too.
I think we should trade. We could trade.
We can definitely do a trade. That's actually, I think more people like us should do that.
Yeah, well, it's nice validation. Yeah, most certainly. I agree.
Why don't we just, everyone should just swap. It'll save us all a lot of money that way.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. I believe in that as much as possible. It benefits local people, and to me, I try to support that as much as possible. So, if we can help each other, that's what it's all about. That's why we do what we do.
Yes. Kelly, I just have to tell you that everyone in chat, Wolf, Creeps in the Night, Shay, Matt, everyone is just so thrilled that I had you on, and they are all just complimenting you as a great guest and us having a great show tonight. So thank you again.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm glad all your listeners enjoyed it, and hope to hear from some of them for that special and to promote your show too. So I'm very grateful. Thank you all so much.
Oh, thank you. And then thank you guys in the chat. Thanks to the listeners that are listening live, and thank you to the listeners who will be listening later. We love you, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank you, Kelly. Everyone go follow her on Facebook and book a reading now.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you. We'll talk soon, love, and I appreciate it again. It's my absolute pleasure.
Oh, mine too. Much love your way. Thank you.
Have a great night and great week.
You too. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.